viewers, well, I got a cool review for you guys today. This is from a company called POWERSMART, and this is their PS55 generator. This is a pure sine wave generator. When they reached out to me and asked me about reviewing a generator, I looked at it at first and I thought, I messaged them back and I said, nah, I think I'll pass. But then I got to looking at it and I seen that it was pure sine wave, and I thought, you know what, that would be really cool to charge up all the batteries that I have in my solar system. And so I thought, you know, this would be a good product for that. And plus, you know, if I did get in a bind and did need to run, you know, some other appliances off there during a power outage, I thought this would be a pretty good unit. So I wanted to test it out. I have never worked with this company before. I've never bought any of their products, and so I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if it was going to be of good quality. A lot of times when you get stuff on Amazon, you don't know if it's of good quality. I've been playing with this thing for a week and I'm very impressed with it. I think you guys will be too. So I'm gonna go ahead with the unboxing. I went ahead and put the handle on because I wanted to be able to lift it out of the box a little bit easier. But when you get it, and all it is two little bolts that use a screwdriver to tighten down onto the top right there. But then once you do that, that's pretty much everything. You just lift it up out of there. And it weighs 26.5 pounds, so you can lift it one-handed. You know, this generator is rated for 1,000 watts with a 1,500 watt peak. So, you know, keep that in mind. You don't want to run it above 1,000 watts. Now, I will say that I went ahead and put oil in the generator, and I've already ran it and did its first break-in. Now, I would personally go ahead and change the oil after probably 30 minutes or an hour of running with no load, just simply because there's going to be some metal shavings in that oil, and you don't want to have those metal shavings running around your engine. This thing holds just under 10 ounces of oil. It doesn't hold much oil. You can buy 1 quart of oil and get, you know, over three oil changes out of it. So it doesn't cost much at all to do an oil change. And it's super easy. I mean, super easy. I'll show you how to do it here in just a minute. So the gasoline tank here on top, it holds just under 3/4 of a gallon. So it's not a huge tank. So when you get the generator out of the box, you'll notice that it comes with a manual, and the manual is inside of a Ziploc bag. And I like that, and I'll tell you why. For me, I'm kind of OCD. So probably what I'll do is go buy an extra spark plug for this thing, just because if this one ever needed to be replaced, I'll have an extra, and it'll be right here in the manual. And also, one thing I noticed that I thought was a pretty cool touch was when they printed the owner's manual out, and with all the instructions and stuff, they laminated this outer sheet. It's got like a laminate type paper on it. So if you got greasy hands and you're going through this thing like a grease monkey like I do, and looking for all the specifications for the oil weight and the oil capacity and what spark plug and what gap and all that stuff, you're usually going to have greasy hands. And so when you get done looking through there, then you can just wipe down the outer manual and it's not all greasy. Alright, so I gotta say, when I got this generator, the first thing that I did was pull the side panels off of both sides to see how it operates. Take a look at the internals and all that and see how hard or easy it is to maintenance it. And so I went ahead and changed the oil, and I looked and seen just how to change the spark plug and all that. And so I'm going to show you guys how to take these side panels off. Very simple. Just get you a drill and a Phillips head bit. So this side cover comes off very easy. What you want to do is just remove the 4 Phillips head screws and then grab the bottom and kind of pull out. And there's these little plastic clips on all the corners, and they're in the middle that kind of holds it in place, so when you take the screws out, it just don't fall out. And I gotta say, the plastic here is not real flimsy, so it's not gonna rattle. This is some pretty tough plastic. I mean, really, it's made really well. And you can see right in here that this is the side where your carburetor is on and your spark plug is right in there. And so that's good, because later on down the road, let's say you forget and you leave gasoline in there and it gets old. If you need to clean that carburetor out or replace it, it's very easy to get to. And I'm telling you that in this review because, you know, a lot of you guys are tinkerers just like me, and if you need to work on it, it's easy to get in there to the parts that you need to get to. And then the other day I went ahead and pulled the spark plug wire off, and you can put a socket on that spark plug. I believe it's a 5/8, and it fits down in there, but you can't put the ratchet on there. You can put the socket on there and use a wrench to turn the socket. So it is a little tight right there getting that spark plug out, but it's easy to get to. Now I've turned the generator around to the other side where the pull cord is, and I went ahead and removed the 4 screws. Same thing on this side as the other side. You just want to kind of grab here on the bottom and work it loose, and then it's got those same little tabs that kind of hold it in place, and you'll notice that the pull cord just comes out like that. And what I like to do is just kind of pull it out a little bit and then twist that piece out of the way. So you can see right here on this side, you've got your motor and all your electrical connections and all that. But then right here, you've got your dipstick. And not only is that a dipstick, but that's your fill port for adding oil. Now, when it does ship and you take it out of the box, it does not have oil in it. So do not try to crank it up. Make sure you add oil first. Like I said, it takes just under 10 ounces of oil. For most people, it's going to use 1030 engine oil. The oil change is very easy. When you do the oil change, you remove this dip stick and plug there. You just remove it, and then you just tilt the generator over on its side, and all the oil comes out right here. And you'll drip a little oil right there on that, but it's very minimal. It's easy to clean up because there's no bottom in this generator. And so there's a motor mount up underneath there, but right there's no bottom. So when it pours out, you're going to get just a little bit of oil right there on that tube. But like I said, you can easily wipe it up with a napkin. You're not cleaning out a bunch of oil up underneath this thing. On other generators, I've had to get up underneath there with paper towels and try to clean it up. I like how this one's open up underneath, so you don't have to clean up a big oil spill. Now, I showed you guys how to remove the side panels and all that, but when the generator is running, you definitely want to keep the side panels on, because this is a forced air generator, meaning that it does have a fan, and that fan's blowing air, and so these panels just kind of help channel that air, so it directs it to where it needs to be. And so you can see here on the front, there is your filter where it sucks air in, and then there's some ventilation. And then here on the back and sides, there is some vents. And then here in the back, there is some venting here. And then right there is your exhaust. So, make sure, like I said, you keep those side panels on so the generator runs nice and cool. So as far as the air filter, it's very easy to get to. If you're running this in an area where it's going to be a little dusty, it's very to get to clean. You just wash it out and coat it with just a little bit of light motor oil and put it back in there. And you can see that it fits in there just like that. And then this little casing fits in the grooves down there below, and then you just close it just like that, and it fits in there nice and tight. And I gotta say, I'm very impressed with the fit and finish of this generator. I said that I have went ahead and ran this generator, and I changed oil in it, and then I filled it back with some fresh oil, but I did not put it under load while I was breaking it in. I just started it, and it actually started on the first pull. So that was pretty impressive, and it doesn't take a lot of force to be able to pull that pull string to start it up, so I like that. So it says here in the manual that it's rated at 75 decibels at 23 feet. So you guys at home, if you want to know just how loud your generator is at home, you take your decibel meter 23 feet away. You don't just stick it right up next to the generator. Take it 23 feet away, and then you measure your decibels, and that'll give you an accurate decibel reading. That is the actual standard for decibel readings for generators. We'll see how loud it is and see if you can hold a conversation. I know the other day when I started it up with no load on it, it was pretty manageable. I was surprised that how quiet it actually was. So before we go outside and do all that testing, I wanted to show you the front of the generator. So first things first, we're going to start on the left right here with the choke. And the way that you choke it is you just pull it out, and then you go ahead and turn your fuel on. And right in here you can see that it right there is the on position, and I have it currently set to the off position, and this is just basically just a fuel shut off. It turns it off so fuel can't get to the carburetor. So if you're going to store the generator for a long time, I would turn the fuel disconnect switch to the off position, so that way there's no fuel getting into the carburetor. I would actually run it dry with no fuel in there, and make sure that switch is turned off, and that way you ain't got no fuel sitting in the carburetor to gum up. And truthfully, I would always run that non-ethanol fuel in this thing. When you go to crank it up, you'll set it to choke. You'll set the fuel switch to the on position, and then you'll turn the on switch on right there, and then you'll pull the cord and it'll crank up. And like I said, I started it with one pull. I thought that was pretty awesome. So that's just a quick rundown on how to start it. And then over here you'll see a light right there, an LED light, and what that is for is it has a low oil shutdown switch on it. So if you try to crank this thing up and it won't start, there's probably a good chance that it's low of oil. And if it is, it'll tell you right there. That light will light up and let you know, hey, you need to put some oil in here. So that's a good feature to have on a generator. Right here in the middle, you've got an overload light, and what that does is it tells you that you've overloaded the generator and you tried to power too much with it. And so I would discontinue whatever you're trying to power and plug in something that's lower wattage. And then right here on this side, it's got an output light, and what that is telling you is that the generator is producing power and that it's ready to go. Now, one thing to always remember is whenever you start your generator, don't start it with a load. Don't have anything plugged into these AC outlets right here. You know, it's just something that you need to get in a habit of not doing on all generators. That way, you know, it's not starting under a load. That's really hard on this thing when you first start it, and it's having to run to its max right off the bat. So always keep everything unplugged until it warms up a minute, and then you can plug in your devices. Right here below, you've got this little weatherproof rubber piece that fits over your USB ports. Now these ports right here, it says that they're 5 volt 1 amp on the upper port and 5 volt 2.1 amp on the lower port. You can actually run a lot more stuff on these USB ports than what you think. I've got some USB lights that I'll put down in the description that only use 5 watts of power. They're from a company called VT Power. So make sure you check those out. I use them in all my videos for portable power stations. And so those lights only use 5 watts of power, so you could run several lights off of these USB ports alone with a splitter and all that. So it's not just used for just charging phones. Then over here, you've got your 2 120 volt AC outlets. And then right above that is a reset if you need to reset those. And then on this side, you can see you've got a little grounding terminal right there if you want to ground the generator. I'm not going to get into all that. You can read through the manual and see if you need to ground it. Today, I'm not going to ground it. I'm just going to be using it just for a few minutes. But anyways, I went ahead and got the choke pulled out like I showed you. I've got the toggle switch set to on, and all I have to do is crank it. And then once it cranks, then you're going to push the choke in, and then it should run. I am right-handed, but I'm going to use my left hand just to show you how easy it is. First pull, baby. And look at that. Nice and quiet. And this thing hadn't been running. It just now started. This is the second time that I've ever ran this generator. So with no load on it, it's really quiet. I don't even have to change the sound of my voice to kind of talk over it. You know, with no load on it, it's no problem. Like I said, I've not put a load on it yet, so this is going to be the test that we both see at the same time. So right here on front of the generator, you can see that green LED light lit up, and that is for the output, and that lets you know right there that it's producing power. So all you have to do is now is just let it warm up a minute or two, and then plug in your AC device, and you should be good to go. So I just wanted to show you guys, I've got a drop cord plugged into it down here, and then I've got my little cord that hooks into a outlet, and I've got a hole drilled on each side so I can test meter plugged in. And right now, this watt meter is showing that it's at 119, 120 volts. So that is excellent. And then it's at 60 hertz. So that's right where you want it to be. Now I'm going to go ahead and test the sine wave. As you can see, I've got alligator clipped on this side, probed on this side, and right down there, that is a nice clean sine wave. And you can see right there, it says it's at 60 hertz. So very impressive. So now we're gonna plug in this 1,000 watt hair dryer into the watt meter there, and we're gonna measure and see how many watts. And then also you want to listen to the generator, because it should kick up an RPM so it can handle the wattage that it's having to put out. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on, and you'll also hear that generator get loud. You can see right there, 860 watts. So you can also hear the generator, it got a lot louder, 861 watts. But look down here at the oscilloscope, it's still got a nice clean distortion-free sine wave. So very impressive. So I went ahead and I've got the hair dryer going. Like I said, that thing's putting out 860 something watts. And I've got the oscilloscope still hooked up, and even though it's right there and it did get a little bit louder, then it's not still crazy loud. I mean, you can still hold a conversation next to it. It's not like some of those open frame generators like your grandpa probably had. Them things are just super loud. I've actually owned a couple of them myself, and those things are just really loud. But this thing is not nearly as loud as those, we'll put it that way. And right here I'm standing probably a good 15, maybe 20 feet away, and it's not obnoxious by any stretch. Now if you was to put this outside your house, run an extension cord in the house, you're barely going to hear it outside your house. And now if you were using this to camp, you know, it might be a little annoying to you because it might be a little too loud for camping, but you could always run an extension cord away from your campsite. Being plugged up outside your house shouldn't have any problems. This makes for a good backup generator just to run some of your small stuff. You can run a TV and all your appliances like phones and things like that. Now, are you going to be able to run an air conditioning unit? Yes, you can run a small air conditioning unit on this. Are you going to be able to run a full-size refrigerator? No, because it can't handle those startup watts, and it's just too much for it. But are you going to be able to run all your smaller things? Yes, you shouldn't have any problems. All right, so this thing is still running 866.4 watts, and I'm fixing to turn it off so you can see the difference in the sound that it makes. You can hear it slowly ramp down, and man, that thing's hot. Woo! But with it back to idle, it's really quiet, and even on 864 watts, it's not really that bad. So next, we're gonna bump it up a little bit more. I showed you that hair dryer was putting out 866 watts. Now we're gonna plug in this box fan, and it puts out about 75. So let me go ahead and turn the hair dryer back on. You can see right there, 866.2 watts. And then I don't have a watt meter for this, but I've tested it. It uses 75 watts on high. But you can see that it don't have any problems putting out 904 watts. So 940 watts, I'm sorry. But anyways, this thing's putting out as close to the 1,000 watts as I possibly can get it. So right now with this and the fan, you're about 940 watts. So that's pretty good. All right, so we're doing 940 something watts, and I just ran out of gas. My goodness. So wouldn't you know it, I went to try to do the last test and I ran out of gas the other day when I told you I ran it and then did the break-in. I didn't put much gas in it, so that was my fault. Sorry guys. So anyways, I've got it filled back up, and I just wanted to let you know when I filled it back up with gas, it took 2 pulls to get it started again, and voila, it's back running, no problem. We're gonna go ahead and turn the hair dryer back on. Turn that on speed number put a link down in my description. These things are awesome. You can run a bunch of these just off these 2 ports with a couple of splitters. And so these are only like 25 bucks for a 4-pack and some splitters. So make sure you check those out. So you seen I just ran it. You seen that it's got a good clean sine wave. You seen it runs at 60 hertz. And then also I told you I would show you how to change oil. Very simple. What I like doing is putting it on one of these little step ladders here and putting the oil in a 5-gallon bucket. A lot of times you can go to like Firehouse Subs and buy a 5-gallon bucket for $3, and it comes with a lid. And so when you do your oil changes, even on your vehicles and generators and all that stuff, keep that oil in a 5-gallon bucket till time to recycle it. Then I take it to AutoZone, or sometimes I burn it in my smudge pots. So anyways, I'm going to show you how to change it. Right here on the side, showed you that there was a dipstick. You just loosen that up. And I'm going to set it aside, and you can see that oil is hot from where I just ran it. And I just lean the whole unit over. I'm gonna set that dipstick aside right there, and I'm just letting the gravity work for me, and just leaning it over to the side. That way I ain't got to try to hold it or tip it on its side and dump out the gas in it. And I can just get the oil, and as cheap as oil is, you might as well just go ahead and change the oil in it again. I figured what the heck, I'd show you guys. Like I said, it only holds less than 10 ounces of oil, so it's not much oil at all. And you can see I'm just tipping it up. And then when you're done, you can see that I didn't spill much, just a little bit. One paper towel would clean that up, and just a little bit of oil right there on that little tube, and just around that just a little bit. But like I said, one paper towel, clean up, and you're good to go. And you can see that the oil's easy to dispose of now. Fill it up to the very top, and then it's good to go. You're ready to roll again. So this concludes the review on the POWERSMART model PS55. Gotta say, very impressed with it, and I think you guys will be too. I think for the price point, man, this thing is cheap. And you know, generators are only getting cheaper and cheaper by the day, because you know, all these new companies are coming out and driving the price down. So I like it. You know, I've always been the kind of guy that want a Honda and one of those real quiet generators, but they're so expensive. So this is a good alternative. For a couple $100, you can have an inverter type generator. Is it going to be as quiet as a Honda? No, but it's still pretty quiet. It's easy to service. I give it 2 thumbs up. For me, it's a win all the way around. And so all I'm going to do now is just throw some oil back in it, and I'll be good to go if power goes out. And so if you guys are interested in this generator, I'll put a link for it in the description down below. I am an Amazon affiliate, and so I don't just tell people to buy random stuff that I've not used or tested. This is stuff that I actually use. So anyways, check out my link for that. Then if you're interested in the oscilloscope or the VT Power USB lights, I'll have all that down below, and any other products that I used in the video, make sure you check in the description. I'll have it listed. So until next time, guys, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it, a good like, because it gets my video out there to more people. So anyways, thanks a lot for watching.